Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. First thing I'd like to say is we hit the 300 subscriber mark, so that's kind of cool. So if you haven't already subscribed and you watch my channel, please consider doing that. I'd appreciate it. If you got friends or family that would benefit from these discussions, share the channel with them. And like the video if you enjoy my content. This isn't a fun topic. I think it has been covered enough by everyone and their dog. And it's the topic of civil war. If you haven't heard the news already, I got the notification on my phone about 45 minutes ago. By the time this video goes up, I'll probably be late to the party by a couple hours. But they indicted Trump. From my understanding, it's a somewhat minor offense in New York. It deals with paying money to porn star. That part doesn't really matter. What matters is being told it's unprecedented. The president wants us to do a little bit of protesting. The news says you shouldn't do that, but it's okay to protest other things. I'm not going to get into the politics of it. I save my politicking for the most part for when I go submit my own personal ballot. But what is concerning is I definitely feel like there is an increase in the amount of riots happening lately. They do follow a trend of, as we hit spring and summer, there's more of them than in late fall and in the winter. That's because they don't like the cold. I think it's kind of funny that most of it tends to happen on the weekend, when people, for the most part, don't have to go to work. And so I find it kind of alarming that they would release this news on Thursday afternoon. For a lot of people, the weekend starts on Friday. And releasing that at the same time that I've heard there's going to be some protesting over what happened in Tennessee with the it person. It's alarming, to say the least. As a prepper, we tend to look towards all of our issues, and anything that is considered a threat or a harm to ourselves, our family, the members within our mutual assistance group, we tend to take that a little personal. So my first little bit of advice for you is don't go somewhere where there's going to be any type of protest, especially if it's something that you really don't believe in. Looking for a fight, if you want to go and try to have a conversation, I think that is acceptable. I also think you shouldn't be told that you can't go somewhere I think that's a little freedom issue that I have. Uh, so, you know, you do you, accept your own level of threat and risk. But I've heard more and more people have this discussion on, you know, putting their foot down, drawing their line in the sand. The idea of a national divorce has been thrown around quite a bit over the last couple of years. I don't remember whose podcast I was watching, but they definitely said, depending on the outcome of this next election, that's when they think all hell is going to break loose. And we're just now getting warmed up for that. So, I really couldn't tell you what's going to happen. The only thing I can tell you is I think you should, start getting prepared if you have not done so. I do these news videos a lot, and I typically tell you the same answer of you should start getting prepared for something. And people only really start to care about being prepared typically when the crap is outright hitting them in the face, or they can see the person loading the bucket to toss it into the fan, if you catch my drift. So, I really don't know what's going to happen, but I do know in the past firearm sales went up when we had an increased number of protests. Most of them do end up being peaceful. The news is very good about showing us all the violent ones, and it makes it seem like those are the only ones that happen. If you live in a major city, go see some family out in the country for the weekend. If you are going to stay, maybe you should head down to your local Walmart, spend the $2 and get some 3 or 4 inch screws and replace those 1/4 inch screws that you've got in your door frame. Even if you are renting the place, it's not going to affect the value. If you don't want to sacrifice that money and leave it there, then hold on to those little bitty screws and put them back when you leave. That's what I gotta say about that. Make sure your firearms are good to go. Be prepared to defend yourself if necessary. Don't go out to eat if you feel like it. Cook something at home. It's always a good idea to cook something at home anyway. It'll save you money so you can spend more stuff on preps. If you don't got a first aid kit, or you've been using a lot of the items in your first aid kit, maybe thinking about replacing those things. I think another good idea is just having a discussion about what's going on in the United States today with family members. Because I think having a discussion is important. I don't think we are as divided as the news wants us to believe we are. And so, I'm a firm believer in this, that we can have different thoughts and opinions on quite a few things and still live together. My grandparents been married really long time, and they are a part of 2 separate sides of the coin. One is more left-leaning than the other, and one is more right-leaning than the other. You know, they argue and bicker, and guess what? They're still together. So, if you don't have supplies, start small. You can baby step the entire thing. Think of the first 72 hours. What do you need for the first 72 hours? A little bit of food, a little bit of water, some security, something that you can use for communications, shelter. You don't really need to think about bartering items. You don't need to, be thinking long term. That first 72 hours, that might be for something, like a weekend getaway. Power goes out because of a snowstorm. A lot of that stuff tends to get fixed relatively quickly. All right, hitting those 3 days is only gonna cost you, I'd say for the bare necessities, less than $100. Then you look at it for a week. Then, from my opinion, you look at it 1 week at a time until you hit your first month. Then you look at it, month to month. And at some point, you're going to hit a year in all of this. Once you hit a year in all this, that's where I tend to see a lot of plateauing within preppers. Go back to thinking about it 1 week at a time. Got 4 gallons of milk for my parents from Brahms. They don't have those around them, and they love the milk. So, using the grandparents' fridge because they're out of town. I think my puppies want to be fed. They're looking at me like, it's dinner time. You normally feed us right after you get off work. But it was an hour and a half round trip to get that milk. But that's my thought process. I think we are, to a certain degree, dividing on issues. I think we are having more and more hard lines in the sand on our issues, because I think for the most part, we've got things solved and figured out. Let me feed the puppies real quick. So, I think we got most of our issues figured out. And we still got to work out a few kinks. And if it does come down to, some sort of major conflicting issue, I'd rather be prepared. I don't think I'm prepared as much as I should or need to be, but I think I'm better prepared than most, and hopefully these videos will, help get y'all to that point as well. So if there's any other major news updates on this, I will let y'all know. Other than that, pay attention to current events. Don't do anything overly stupid. Keep second to the rafters. Don't just focus on guns and bullets. Put away some food. Get some water storage. And with that, catch you in the next one.